My wife cheated on me with her boss, then mysteriously signed over $250, $0 in our family estate to him right before I discovered she was sleeping with him. Now she's suing me for the house I paid for, claiming I'm trying to steal her inheritance when I just want the truth. I never thought I'd be the guy writing about how I found out my wife was cheating on me with her boss, Mark. Honestly, it felt like a punch to the gut, the kind you don't see coming until it hits you square in the chest. The crazy part, the whole thing unraveled so fast, I barely had time to process it before everything came crashing down. One day, I was just your average guy, working my job, trying to keep things normal. The next, I was staring at a bank statement that made my blood run cold, realizing that it signed over $250, $0 of our family estate to Mark, her boss, right before I caught her in bed with him. That's not just betrayal, that's outright theft, manipulation, and a level of deception I didn't think possible from someone I loved. It started about 6 months ago. Had been acting weird, more distant, less interested in sex, always on her phone, whispering when she thought I wasn't looking. At first, I thought she was just stressed at work or maybe tired from the kids. We have two little ones, a boy and a girl, and life was hectic, so I figured it was normal. But then I noticed she'd get calls late at night and hang up quickly when I entered the room. She'd also start leaving her phone on silent and hiding it when she went to the bathroom. Nothing concrete, just enough little things to make me suspicious, but I kept telling myself I was overthinking it. Maybe she was just stressed or had a new project at work. It wasn't until I accidentally saw a text message on her phone that things started to fall into place. I was in our bedroom looking for my charger, and I saw a message from Mark, her boss. It was a simple "can't wait to see you tonight," but the way it was signed off with a heart emoji made my stomach drop. I knew then that there was more going on than just professional admiration or friendly banter. I didn't confront her right away. I wanted to see if I was imagining things, so I kept quiet and watched her behavior. Over the next few weeks, she became more secretive, more defensive when I asked about her whereabouts or her phone. Then, I found out about the money. I was going through our bank accounts, trying to get a handle on our finances because I'd recently lost my job and was feeling the pressure. That's when I noticed the transfer 250, just vanished from our estate account and transferred to an account I didn't recognize. I looked into it further and it was signed over by, claiming it was a gift to Mark for some business investment he was supposedly making. Only Mark's business was a front. I knew because I'd done some digging. His company was barely holding together and the transfer made no sense. Why would sign over that kind of money to her boss? It wasn't like she had a huge inheritance or anything. That money was supposed to be for the kids' college fund, for our future, and she just handed it over like it was nothing. I confronted her that night. After I found out, I told her I knew about Mark, about the money, about everything. Her face went pale and her eyes started to dart around. She tried to deny it at first, calling me crazy, saying I was paranoid and jealous. She said Mark was just a mentor, that I was overreacting and that I had no proof of anything. But I had the evidence, screenshots, bank statements, texts, that made her look like a liar. Her excuses were weak. She said the money was a loan, that Mark was helping her with some investment opportunity, and that I was just jealous of her success. She spun stories so fast I almost believed her for a second, but the betrayal was too deep. I felt sick, betrayed, and furious all at once. The emotional toll was brutal. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. How could she do this? How could she betray me and the kids like that? The woman I married, the woman I trusted with my life, was sleeping with her boss and stealing from our family. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Mark. Heard the lies she told me, saw the money flowing out of our account. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see the truth right in front of me. The worst part was realizing that I loved her, but she didn't love me back, at least not the way I thought she did. Instead, she was out there, lying, cheating, and taking everything she could from us. After the confrontation, she played the victim. She told me I was paranoid, that I was trying to control her, that I was trying to steal her inheritance by accusing her of cheating. She even said I was just jealous because she was successful and I was unemployed. The accusations stung because they were false, but they also made me question myself. Was I just blind? Did I miss the signs? I knew I had to make a decision. Part of me wanted to believe her to fix what was broken, but deep down, I knew this was more than just a fight or a misunderstanding. It was betrayal on a scale I couldn't ignore. I've never felt so betrayed and humiliated in my life. That trust I had in our marriage shattered into a million pieces. I don't know how I'm supposed to move forward from this, knowing she lied to my face, stole from us, and slept with her boss. And now she's trying to take the house I paid for, claiming I'm trying to steal her inheritance. It's all so messed up. I just want the truth, but I don't think she's ever going to give it to me. I don't even know if I want her to anymore. After that first explosive confrontation, everything changed. The house felt colder, quieter, like the walls were listening to my heartbreak and rage. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and honestly, I felt numb most of the time. The betrayal cut so deep that I started questioning everything. Myself, her, our marriage, even the future I once thought was secure. I decided I needed to get some clarity, so I started digging into her phone and emails. I knew I had to find concrete proof, something undeniable that would make her finally admit the truth. I wasn't just angry, I was determined to get to the bottom of this. For days, I watched her every move, but she was careful, more secretive than ever. Still, I caught little slips, missed calls from Mark, texts she tried to delete, late-night emails about projects and investments. It was clear she was hiding something, and everything pointed to her affair being more than just a fling. It was a full-blown affair with her boss, Mark, and she was willing to do anything to cover it up. One night, I managed to get her phone when she went to bed. I scrolled through her messages, and what I saw made my blood boil. There were dozens of texts, some explicit, some just flirtatious, all between her and Mark. They talked about meeting up, sneaking around, and even plans for her to leave the house for a few days, so she could be with him without suspicion. I found a message where she told Mark she was done pretending and asked him if they could run away together. That was the moment I knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore. She had betrayed me in the worst way possible, and I was done being manipulated. I started thinking about the money, the $250, $0 she signed over to Mark. It wasn't just a mistake or a bad decision, it was calculated. She was trying to buy her way out of the mess she created, or maybe she thought she could get away with it. Either way, it was theft, plain and simple. I knew I had to act fast before she did something even more reckless or legal. That's when I decided I'd confront her again, but this time I needed a plan. I wasn't just going to accuse her blindly. I had proof, and I was going to use it to get to the truth once and for all. The next day, I sat her down and showed her everything I'd found. The texts, the bank transfers, the emails. Her face turned white as she realized I had everything. She tried to deny it again, claiming I was stalking her, that I was paranoid, that Mark was just a friend, and all this was a big misunderstanding. She said I was trying to ruin her career and her reputation. But I didn't buy it anymore. The evidence was too clear. I told her she needed to come clean, that I wasn't going to let her destroy what we built over a stupid affair. Her excuses started to sound more desperate, and her bitchy attitude only got worse as she tried to manipulate me into believing her lies. That night, I couldn't sleep. All I could think about was how she lied to me, how she betrayed my trust, and how she was willing to destroy our family for this piece of shit boss. I felt sick, angry, and betrayed all at once. I realized I'd been blind for too long, making excuses for her behavior because I loved her. But love doesn't mean blind trust. It means honesty, loyalty, and respect, none of which she had anymore. I knew I had to do something drastic. I wasn't just going to walk away quietly. If she thought she could take our house, our savings, and get away with it, all while sleeping with her boss and lying to my face, she was dead wrong. I started consulting a lawyer, trying to understand my rights and what I could do legally. The more I learned, the angrier I got. She had no right to our estate, especially not after signing it over under false pretenses. I found out that she had signed legal documents, claiming she was acting in her own interest, but I knew that was a lie. The money, the house, everything was supposed to be ours, our future, our kids' security. She was trying to steal that from us, and I wasn't going to let her. I was ready to fight for what was mine, to expose her lies and to make her face the consequences of her actions. The emotional toll was brutal. I felt like I was losing my mind some days. But I also knew I had to stay strong for myself, for my children, for the truth. I couldn't let her manipulate me or turn the situation into some legal nightmare where she'd try to claim innocence. I had enough evidence to prove she was lying, cheating, and trying to take everything I worked so hard for. The worst part, seeing her act like she was the victim, trying to gaslight me and make me question everything. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I've made up my mind. I won't be the guy who gets played for a fool. I deserve honesty, respect, and a future free of her lies. If she wants to keep fighting, then so be it. But I'm done being the patsy in this story. I'm going to fight for what's right, even if it tears everything apart. Because I refuse to be the guy who gets betrayed, stolen from, and humiliated and then just accepts it. Not anymore. After I laid everything out on the table, proofs, texts, bank statements, reaction was exactly what I expected. Denial, blame shifting, and outright lies. She looked me dead in the eyes and spun a web of bullshit about how Mark was just helping her with her career, how she was under a lot of pressure, and that I was just paranoid. She told me I was overreacting, that I was trying to ruin her reputation, and that I was jealous of her success. It was so typical: blame me, twist the truth, deny everything. She even had the audacity to call me controlling, like I was some jealous husband who just couldn't handle her climbing the corporate ladder. I was furious, but I kept my cool. I knew I had the evidence, and I knew I needed to stay calm if I wanted to get through to her. I told her flat out that I knew about her affair, about the money, about the lies. I told her I wasn't going to let her destroy us, that she had crossed a line she couldn't come back from. Her face twisted into this ugly sneer, and that's when she started throwing accusations at me, saying I was trying to steal her inheritance, that I was a bad husband, and that I was just trying to control her. It was a classic move: project her guilt onto me, make me the villain. Honestly, hearing her lie so brazenly was like a punch to the gut. I felt betrayed all over again. How could she sit there and deny everything after I proved it? How could someone I loved do this to me? I was so angry I could barely speak. I wanted to scream, to shake her and make her see the truth. But I knew that wouldn't help. Instead, I told her if she kept lying, I'd be taking this to the lawyers. I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of this. I felt my blood boiling, but I kept my voice steady and calm, even as inside I was ready to explode. The next few days were kept up the act, acting like she was the victim, crying about how I was ruining her life, how I was trying to tear apart the family. She played the guilt card hard, saying she was just trying to build a future for the kids and that I was jealous of her success. It was so transparent. She was trying to turn it around, make me look like the bad guy. But I knew better. I knew her game. She was the one who lied, cheated, and stole from us. I just wanted the truth to come out. Meanwhile, I started talking to a lawyer. I wanted to understand my rights, especially about the house and the money. I learned that she had no real legal claim to the house since I paid for it, and that her signing over that $250, $0, was likely invalid, especially if she did it under false pretenses or without my knowledge. The more I learned, the more confident I became that I had a solid case. But I also knew this was going to get ugly. She was already trying to spin it in her favor, and I could see her plotting her next move, probably to sue me for trying to steal her inheritance, or worse, to claim the house as her own somehow. The emotional impact was draining. I kept questioning myself. Was I just a naive idiot for trusting her? Did I miss the signs? How could she do this to me, to our family? I felt like I was unraveling inside. I loved her, I really did, but I also hated her for what she'd done. The betrayal cut so deep that I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. I kept replaying the moments, the late-night calls, the secret texts, the look in her eyes when she lied to my face. It all felt like a terrible nightmare I couldn't wake up from. But amid all the chaos, I realized one thing: I had to stand my ground. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into giving up what's rightfully mine. The house, the savings, the future I worked so hard for, they're mine. She might have tried to steal it, but I was going to fight for it. I decided I'd file for a legal separation, get everything documented, and prepare for a battle. I wasn't going to be the one left holding the bag when she played her games. I knew she'd try to twist things, spin lies, or even go to court claiming she's the victim. But I also knew I had the truth on my side. It's strange, part of me still hopes she'll come clean, admit what she did, and maybe we can work through this. But deep down, I know she's not going to change. Her bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations, they've only confirmed she's not the woman I thought I married. Some part of me still loves her, but another part is so angry I don't recognize myself. I feel like I've been betrayed by the person I trusted most, and I don't know if I'll ever fully recover from this. All I know is I have to protect myself and my kids. That's the only thing that matters now. The legal side of things moved faster than I expected. I thought I'd have more time to process, but once I had all the evidence, texts, bank transfers, her lies, it became clear I needed to act. I hired a lawyer who specialized in family law and estate issues. From the first meeting, I realized how much she tried to spin the situation, claiming the money was a gift, that I was trying to steal her inheritance, and that I was just a jealous, unemployed husband trying to control her. My lawyer told me that her signing over the estate under false pretenses could be challenged, especially if I could prove she was coerced or lied to. The first thing we did was file for a legal separation. I wanted to establish clear boundaries, protect what was rightfully mine, and prevent her from doing any more damage. We also filed a motion to freeze the house and the estate assets, so she couldn't sell or transfer anything without court approval. It was a relief to have some legal armor, but I knew this was just the beginning of what would probably be a long, ugly fight. She was already trying to spin her story to friends and family, painting herself as the victim, claiming I was trying to ruin her reputation and take everything just because I was jealous of her success. That bitch was good at twisting words, but I had the facts, and I was ready to fight for them. Meanwhile's attitude got worse. She became more defiant, more bitchy, and started throwing accusations at me that I was mentally unstable or trying to control her. She insisted she had every right to sign over the estate because she was entitled to her inheritance, even if she'd lied about it being a gift. She claimed I was trying to ruin her life because I'd discovered the truth. Honestly, I was sick of her playing the victim. She was the one who cheated, stole, and lied. She was trying to manipulate everyone around her, including the courts, to get her way. But I wasn't backing down. The most shocking part was when she threatened to sue me for the house. She claimed I was trying to steal her inheritance and that she had rights to it because she was married to me. That's when I realized she was trying to turn this into some legal battle over the house, even though I paid for it all. I had the receipts, mortgage statements, bank transfers, everything. I knew she had no legal standing, but her attitude was that she was entitled to everything because she was the wife. That's when I knew I had to prepare for a fight, not just in court, but for my own sanity. The emotional toll was intense. I'd wake up every morning feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. I'd look at the house I built with my own money, the savings I worked so hard to accumulate, and wonder how it had all been turned upside down in just a few months. I kept asking myself why she did this, why she lied so much, why she was willing to destroy everything for Mark. Some days I felt hopeless, like I was fighting a losing battle. Other days I told myself I'd get through it. No matter how ugly this gets, I'd stand my ground and protect what's mine. One thing I learned during this process is how manipulative people can be. Bitchiness, her lies, her constant blame shifting, they're all tactics to distract from her own guilt. She's trying to make me look like the bad guy so she can walk away with the house, the money, and maybe even custody of the kids if she plays her cards right. I can't let that happen. I have to stay focused, stick to the facts, and let the law do its job. But it's not easy. Every day feels like a battle, emotionally, mentally, and legally. I also started reaching out to friends and family for support. Some of them knew she was acting strange, but nobody knew how deep the betrayal went until I laid out the evidence. The ones who believed me have been a huge help. They remind me I'm not crazy, that I'm fighting for what's right. Others, unfortunately, are still trying to defend her, saying she's going through a tough time or that I should try to work things out. That's the part that stings the most, knowing she's spinning her lies and getting away with it, at least in some circles. But I know the truth, and I have the law on my side. That's what keeps me going. Every night I sit in the quiet of the house she's trying to claim as her own, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. Anger that she betrayed me, that she lied to my face, that she tried to steal from our future. Sadness because I loved her once, and I still miss the woman I thought she was, but I also know I can't go back, not now, not after everything I've uncovered. The only way forward is to fight to protect what's mine and to make sure she doesn't get away with this. I've learned that people can be so good at hiding their true selves behind a mask of charm and success, but the truth always comes out. I just hope in the end I come out of this with some shred of peace. The legal process dragged on, and every day felt like a new battle. His attitude only got more hostile. She started accusing me publicly, claiming I was trying to steal her inheritance, that I was unstable, and that I was trying to ruin her career, even though I had the evidence to prove otherwise. She hired her own lawyer, of course, and I knew this was just the beginning of a long, drawn-out fight. The court dates were set, and I could tell she was trying to spin her story to sway the judge, painting herself as the victim, claiming she was tricked into signing over the money, and that I was trying to take everything from her. Meanwhile, I was feeling the weight of everything: stress, anger, betrayal piling up. I kept asking myself how I'd let it get this far. How did I miss the signs? How did I trust her for so long? I paid for the house, I built our life, and she was out there sleeping with her boss and scheming to take it all away. It felt surreal, like I was in some bad nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I'd wake up some mornings feeling sick, dreading the day ahead, knowing I'd have to face her, the court, and the endless lies she was still trying to feed everyone. I also started to realize how much her personality had shifted. The once bitchy, manipulative side of her had become even more pronounced. She was relentless, calling me names, accusing me of all sorts of things, and trying to turn everyone against me. Her tone was bitter, her attitude hostile. She'd scream at me in front of the kids, call me a loser, a paranoid husband, or a jealous man who can't handle her success. It was hard to stay composed, but I knew I had to. I could. Let her manipulate the situation, not this time. The most painful part was seeing her try to justify her actions. She'd say things like, "I deserved better," or "You weren't enough for me," as if her sleeping with Mark and stealing from our family was somehow justified. She'd claim she was just trying to find her happiness, even though she knew damn well she was lying. I knew she was trying to rewrite history to make herself look innocent, to hide how deep her betrayal went. But I had the evidence, and I was determined to hold her accountable. The emotional toll was almost unbearable. I'd sit alone at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything: the lies, the betrayal, the money stolen from our future. I felt like a shell of myself. I loved her once, but now I hated her for what she'd done. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. I kept wondering if I'd ever trust anyone again, if I'd ever feel safe in my own home. The house that I paid for, the life I built, was it all just a lie? I was angry at her, furious at Mark, and at myself for trusting her so blindly. Despite all this, I kept pushing forward. I was determined to protect what was mine. I meticulously gathered every document, every piece of evidence, and prepared for the inevitable court showdown. I wanted the truth out, no matter how ugly it was. I knew she'd fight dirty, try to spin her lies and manipulate the court, but I also knew I had the facts on my side. The house, the money, everything I worked so hard for, she couldn't just take it all away. I also started reaching out more to friends and family who believed in me, who saw through her lies. Their support has been a lifeline. Some of them warned me she'd never change, that she'd do whatever it took to win, but I refused to give up. I'd come too far, I'd fought too hard. This wasn't just about money or a house anymore. It was about justice, about standing up for myself and our children. The hardest part is the uncertainty. I don't know how this will end. Will she finally admit the truth? Will I get what's rightfully mine? Or will she somehow manipulate her way out of it? I've learned that people like her can be incredibly convincing. Her bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations. They're all tools she's using to keep her grip on everything. But I refuse to be the victim anymore. I'm determined to see this through, to fight for what's mine, and to hold her accountable for the betrayal. The pain is still fresh, but I know I have to keep going for my sake and my kids. No matter what happens next, I want them to see that I fought for us and that I never gave up. The court date finally arrived, and it was just as brutal as I expected. Showed up with her lawyer looking bitchy and dismissive, trying to act like she was the victim in all this. She still insisted she was entitled to the house, to the inheritance, claiming I was trying to control her and steal her rightful share. I sat there, calm but furious, knowing I had everything on my side, the proof, the legal documents, the facts. My lawyer laid out the case clearly, had lied about the money, forged documents, and manipulated her way into signing over our estate under false pretenses. The judge listened carefully, and I could. Cease lawyer trying to spin her story, twisting the facts, trying to make her look innocent. But it was useless. The evidence was overwhelming. When the judge asked directly if she had been coerced or lied to, she hesitated, then finally admitted she'd signed the papers without full understanding, but still insisted she was entitled to the estate because she was married to me. She tried to claim that the money was a gift, that she wasn't trying to steal, but her words didn't hold up against the mountain of evidence. In the end, the court ruled in my favor. The judge declared that signing of the estate documents was invalid because she had been misled and lied to. The house was awarded back to me, and the transfer of the $250, $0 was declared null and void. This attempt to claim the inheritance was dismissed, and she was ordered to pay my legal fees. I felt a strange mixture of relief and exhaustion as I watched her face twist in anger and frustration. She had lost, and I had finally won some justice. But the victory came with a heavy cost. The emotional scars still lingered, and I knew trust was broken forever. I watched her storm out of the courtroom, still bitchy, still trying to spin her lies, but I didn't care anymore. I had my truth, I had my house, and I had the peace of mind that I fought for what was right. The betrayal was a wound that would take time to heal, but I was determined to move forward. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I got a new job, started working on my mental health, and made sure my kids felt secure amid all the chaos. I learned that the biggest lesson of all is to never ignore the signs and to always stand up for yourself, even when it's the hardest thing to do. This bitchy, manipulative side didn't disappear overnight, but I saw through her lies and refused to be her victim anymore. Looking back, I realize how much I've grown from this experience. I learned that betrayal cuts deep, but resilience is stronger. I learned that sometimes the people you love the most can hurt you the worst, but that doesn't mean you have to let them. You have to fight for your truth, protect what's yours, and never let someone's lies define you. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing. I'm done being the fool. I'm done being the victim, and I'm done letting her manipulate me. I've won back my life, and I intend to keep it that way, strong, honest, and free from her lies.